adding employees into the FMS system. We're going to go into the payroll, then we're going to go into employee maintenance and work with employees. On the left-hand margin, we're going to press add, and then we're going to put in the employee number. So this can be any number, maybe the time clock number or whatever, last 4 digits of the Social Security number, whatever series you want. Click OK. We're then presented with the first screen, the personnel information. We're going to go through and just key in the bare minimums to get an individual into the system. So my first step is I'm going to go ahead and press enter, and all the required fields will then be highlighted, the first of which is the Social Security number. Key in the Social Security number, and then we're going to tab to the next field. Spouse's Social Security number not required, so we're going to go ahead and tab to the last name. Type in the last name, tab, first name, tab, middle initial, tab down to address. You'll notice that it's not case sensitive, so when I tab out of the field, it will automatically convert the lowercase to uppercase. If there's something like such as P.O. boxes or suites, you would key that information into the address to line. Tabbing over to the city, tab again to the state, and tab to the zip code. The United States is everyone there. Next up is birth date. If I get lost and I'm not quite sure what else is required, at any point you can press enter, and it will take you to the next required field. So there you can see that birth date is not a required field in the FMS system. Next up is the gender. Whenever we have the drop down, we can physically hit the drop down and double click from the drop down list. Or if you already know the answer, you can physically just key it in. So married, for example, we're going to go ahead and say M for married. Again, if I'm not sure where I left off, I press enter. It will tell me the last field here that's required is the hire date. You'll notice to the right it tells you the format that it's looking for the hire date. Press enter. If it likes everything you've done, you will get the confirmation prompt, where you can then click OK, and it will bring you to the next screen. The next screen is the employment information screen. First, again, if we press enter, it will highlight all the fields that are required on this screen. Department number is required. I can hit the drop down box, and then in this case I'll just say grocery, select it from the list. Using the tab button, I move to the next field, which is hourly, salary, or fluctuating work week. We'll say this person is an hourly employee. Tab over to the next field, which is pay type or pay frequency, which is WK for a week. Scheduled hours is not required, so I can tab through it. Next up is my company corp store. So this employee is going to work in corporation 420 and in store 421. Tabbing over, the next field is employment status. Hit the drop down. In most cases, it's going to be full-time or part-time. I'll double click the part-time, and then I can press enter. So it didn't bring a confirmation prompt, so there's still additional fields that need to be filled in. So if I look down below, it says hourly or salary rate is required. So at the time I pressed enter, it originally did not know if this employee was hourly or salary, so it did not know which of these fields to make required, hourly or salary. In this case, it's hourly, so I'm going to key into the hourly rate and key in the hourly rate and press enter. So now that it's verified all the required information, I get the confirmation prompt. I can click OK. And the next screen is the tax screen. It automatically fills in the federal for you. The marital status is pulled from the first screen, married, but if the W-4 said, say, single at a higher rate, you can change the exemption status right here to single. Here's the number of exemptions straight from the W-4. In this case, I'll go ahead and key single 1. And then we have the tax flag field. If I press F4 here, it will list all the available items, the most common of which is A for additional. So if I wanted to claim single 1 for this Mark Smith and have an additional $5 taken out of the pay, it would look something like that. So it's A additional, single 1, and then additional $5. So it would use the tax table based on single 1 for whatever the weekly gross is. calculate the tax, and then add $5 to that tax. Just like the previous two screens, if I press enter, it will let me know what else is required. Down below here in red, we can see that the state code is required. So if I click in the state code field and key in Oklahoma there, again pulling off from the W-4, Oklahoma, maybe I'm claiming single and one, but with no additional. I press enter. If it likes everything I filled in, I would move on to the next screen. I'm going to hit cancel here. If you're in states such as Pennsylvania or Ohio that have local and school districts, you would key in those items right here. You'll also notice that the system automatically puts in the FICA tax, which is a combination of the Social Security and Medicare. Nothing is required in that field. The system will automatically withhold that from the individual employee. So once I press enter, I can click OK, and it brings me to the deductions field, but deductions are not required. So if I'm finished with this employee, I could just hit back, and now I'm back in to adding a new employee. So I can go ahead and hit exit, and now that employee is in the system. If I typed in the last few digits of their name, we can see here there's Mark Smith on the screen. If I needed to make a change to one of those three screens, I could highlight and click the edit button. There's the first three screens that were required. So if I needed to make an address change, I could go into the personnel screen and make the change, and then just click OK and click OK. If I needed to make a change to the employment screen, I can make the change, and then again click OK and OK. And the same with the tax screen. I can highlight the tax screen and double click or hit the select button and then make a change. So let's just say I looked at the W-4 information and they were actually claiming 2. So you can then make the change, press enter, click OK, or you can physically up here using your mouse, click OK, and then click OK. So now I can go ahead and hit exit, and that's adding an employee into the system using just the required fields.